Hi everybody, it's so amazing to be back. I haven't posted a video for about 8 months now, and I'm super pumped and really excited to be opening up 2021 with a 4-part video series on working with crystal grids. So I don't think I've put out any videos yet about how to work with crystal grids, and as always I've got a little bit of a different spin on how I do it to perhaps how most other people work with crystals in a grid formation. So this is the first of 4 videos, and the remaining videos will be released over the coming weeks, so be sure to check those out as well. So I'm sure you guys are all familiar with working with crystal grids in a geometric form, especially on crystal grid boards. You can buy a beautiful range of crystal grid boards and mats or pieces of fabric that have a geometric shape printed on them that you can arrange your crystals on. This is awesome, but I don't work with crystal grids this way because I find that it locks you in to working within a structure, which is the print and the geometric shape on the board or the fabric. And when I work with crystals, I work super intuitively, and the crystals are an extension of myself. And because we are so different and we have different energy levels and different things going on in our lives at all different times, I don't like to be locked into a specific structure for how I work with the crystals. I like to be more organic and free-flowing without having to work to that specific shape. So the first type of crystal grid that I'm going to explore in this video is what I call the Transpersonal Crystal Healing Grid. For those of you who don't know, I'm a transpersonal art therapist and I've studied transpersonal psychology and counseling. Now, the way that this is different to mainstream psychology is that transpersonal psychology, which can also be known as spiritual psychology, takes into account a person's esoteric and spiritual experiences as well as their mainstream day-to-day experiences. So we work a lot in the spiritual and esoteric as well as, I guess, the more mainstream approach. So that's just a little point of difference with transpersonal psychology. So the reason why I call my style of grids a transpersonal crystal healing grid is because I draw in areas of transpersonal psychology and that self-exploration that we go through when we're going through a spiritual growth process, or we want to evolve or find out more about ourselves. And I kind of combine that with crystals, the different types of crystals, and the meaning of crystals in working with a crystal grid. To make a transpersonal grid, rather than forming the grid with a specific shape or intention from the onset, the whole idea is to approach the task as an empty vessel. So perhaps it might help to do a meditation beforehand, or just sit in your own space and do some breathing exercises for a couple of minutes before you start the activity. Make sure you've got a large range of crystals at your disposal, and you can also incorporate other elements in this, so feathers, rocks, sticks, anything that is of the earth and has a special meaning for you. The point of a transpersonal crystal healing grid is to externalize or create an external manifestation of your inner world. We do have a very deep and multi-layered inner world, and this can be buried under many layers of consciousness. So predominantly we have the conscious mind and the subconscious, or the unconscious mind, and it's from the day-to-day, it's normally the conscious mind that's doing most of the action, thinking, speaking. So we're talking about reasoning, logic, getting through the day with our to-do lists, doing our job. That's all conscious mind kind of stuff. The subconscious mind is actually much deeper, much more subtle, and it expresses itself through creativity, emotion, dreams, symbology. It's a lot more subtle and it's a lot more abstract as well, so it can be harder to interpret than conscious information or information that's presented in a very literal way. So that's like a brief differentiation between the conscious and subconscious mind. When we meditate, we actually calm, quiet, and still the conscious mind, which is the predominant noise in our brains in the day-to-day, constantly going on. My yoga teacher calls this chitta vritti, she calls it, and it's basically the monkey chatter that goes on in your mind, and that's your conscious mind at work there all the time in the background. And what we want to do is quiet that through some breathing activity, some meditation, prior to approaching any transpersonal or subconscious expressive work, because we want to give the subconscious mind an opportunity to be heard. Some crystals that I recommend having on hand if you're making a grid are points of different varieties. So I've got a little bag of crystal points here. I've got some amethyst and citrine points. Points are really great because they channel energy and they help energy flow throughout the grid, and they're a great way of expressing direction. So you can use points to flow in or flow out or flow around the grid. So they're a really great way of giving your subconscious mind a way to express energy flow, direction, and movement. You also want a combination of larger stones, smaller stones, and stones of different colors as well. And, you know, like I said, try not to be too mindful or too conscious when you're selecting the stones to work with. This is really an intuitive exercise, and you want to let your inner self choose these crystals, not your conscious mind. So to start with, get your crystals in order, get yourself into a really calm place, and then you can begin the creation exercise. I like to start by placing a stone in the middle first, but you might feel called to do it a different way. And then I build out. This is also similar to making a mandala. So you could also potentially think of transpersonal crystal grids as crystal mandalas as well. The idea being that there's the center and that all things flow from the center or expand out from the center, but you absolutely don't need to start here. So when you approach your activity, choose your crystals more on feeling and intuition. You might even want to close your eyes if that's helpful, and just start placing them down on your grid. There should be no judgment in this process, and there should be little, interpretation at this stage. So we're simply just placing the crystals down. Give yourself half an hour to an hour for this process. It might be done much faster than that, but give yourself as much time as you need. When you're done, you can sit back from your mandala or your grid and just absorb it for a few minutes. So once again, without judgment, without any interpretation, without any of those conscious thoughts coming in and going, oh, I don't like that, that's really asymmetrical, or why did I use that? I normally don't work with that crystal. Just let the energy of the grid be absorbed by your subconscious mind and by your energetic body without that judgment. So just looking at it and feeling it, breathing into it, and just letting the colors flow, just observing, but once again, not judging, just observing the feel of the grid. If it's a contracted or expanded feeling, just notice the crystals that you've chosen, and then we can start beginning to go a little bit deeper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a picture of a crystal grid on the screen for you, just to take you through this transpersonal kind of experience in a very condensed way. What I would love and invite you to do is once you've finished watching the video, if you'd like to go and try this with your own crystal grid, then by all means do that. But obviously I can't see any of your grids, so I'm just going to pop a picture of a grid on the screen and take you through the self-reflective questions and experience, and you guys can look at the grid on the screen just to get a taste of what I'm talking about here in going through and reflecting on the grid. Okay, you ready? Get comfortable and I will take you through. All right, so stare very consciously at the picture of the crystal grid on the screen. Just letting go any judgment, any interpretation, just staring at it for this minute or two. Just noticing, just bringing awareness to any thoughts that are coming up. And just observe, do any of these crystals catch your eye perhaps more than others? Perhaps there's a stone in this grid that really draws your attention. Ask yourself why. Why did this stone stand out to you? Perhaps a certain stone didn't catch your eye. Maybe it was a shape or the flow of the grid. Perhaps there's a part of the grid that is annoying. Perhaps it's imbalanced. Perhaps there's a part of the grid that you really like, that you're drawn to, that feels grounding or secure. And why are those feelings important to you? Why does it feel good for you to feel grounded and secure? Does the grid feel balanced or imbalanced? And if that reflected an aspect of you, what would it be? Notice the flow and the energy of the grid. This grid feel like it's breathing in and contracting? Or does this grid feel like it's breathing out in exhalation and expanding? And how does that resonate with you and what stage in your journey you're at? And just continue taking in every aspect of this grid. Noticing what draws your attention, how certain areas make you feel, and always bringing this back to yourself and querying, why does it make you feel this way? What part of you does it speak to? How does this reflect an aspect of yourself? Welcome back. So that was definitely an express version of how you would do this activity. So I would allow 10 minutes right up to half an hour to really immerse in this experience of the Transpersonal Crystal Healing Grid. And I invite you to even incorporate some pen and paper, write down some thoughts, some flowing ideas and feelings that come after you've done this experience, and then unpack that. So we're really only limited in how deep we go within ourselves by our own limitations. So everything can be unpacked further. Keep asking yourself, why? Why does this resonate? Why doesn't it resonate? What part of me does this represent? And take yourself even deeper and deeper, and that's where you find the answers. Another area where you can unpack and analyze this work even deeper is by noticing what type of crystals presented themselves and that you intuitively selected to work with. So perhaps you've got a lot of heart chakra stones there, lots of pinks and greens, and you ask yourself, why? Why did these stones speak to me? Or why did these stones present themselves right now? What is it in this area of my energetic self do I need to be paying attention to, or that my subconscious feels the need to bring forward into my awareness? Notice if you've chosen sharp, pointy crystals and what this may mean, or look, you can analyze just about anything, but the important thing is always taking accountability, and whatever it is that you're unpacking and looking into, regard it as though it's a mirror reflection of yourself and that there is something to learn there. Everything provides a lesson for us. It's not up to the teacher to teach us. It's up to the student to take the learning. And the only person that is responsible for your spiritual journey, your learning, and your personal development is you. So the more you can commit to this and pull out the answers and the questions from within yourself, the more you're going to get from this exercise. Thank you so much for joining me in this video of making a transpersonal crystal healing grid. Remember, this is just the first video of 4 in the series, and in number 2, I'm going to be exploring a crystal grid for a specific intention. So how to create a crystal grid for manifestation, to attract abundance, or anything else in your life that you want to work with specifically. I'll see you then.